darlings, welcome back to my channel. Yes, I'm happy to be here again today. It's a brand new year, 2022. Today is the 4th of January 2022, and yeah, it's amazing to start off this year as well talking to you guys. Welcome to my channel. I'm happy to have you again. My subscribers, you guys are amazing, and if you see my face for the first time, welcome. It's good to have you here. It's great to have you here. I'm happy you tuned in today, and thank you for stopping by. This is Ami Virtue Host, and welcome to my space. In this channel, I share my experiences living in Norway and in Canada. I've lived in Norway for about 7 years before I moved to Canada, and this is my 4th year in Canada. So yeah, without talking too long, let's move into today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about permanent residency in Norway. How hard is it? Is it hard at all? Is it easy? The processes, yeah, basically like my story as well. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Hopefully I'm able to cover a lot. It was a requested video, and yeah, I hope this will inspire you as well. And let's get started. Permanent residency in Norway. It's usually how long you have lived in Norway, right? It's a little bit different from the Canadian permanent residence in some aspects. Bottom line is usually how long you have lived in Norway. It could be up to 2 to 3 years, right? So unlike the Canadian permanent residence, where you have different programs that you can even apply from your home country, right, and come as a permanent resident. So in Norway, you are expected to have lived with a residence permit, which can be renewed every year or every 2 years. So for me, my husband was already in Norway, and after my wedding, I needed to join him. And yeah, he suggested that the process would be very long if I apply directly for family reunification, which would give me just a permanent, which would give me a resident permit, right? And he suggested I just apply for a visitor's visa and come and visit. And so okay, so guys, just ignore the noise, okay? So because the family reunification takes longer time, right? It takes up to 3 to 6 months to process. So I was advised to just apply for the visitor's visa and visit. So when I visited, after a month, I went to the state office where you can submit. It's like a police station, right? So you can submit your application for reunification directly. So that was where I went to in Stavanger, and I submitted the reunification while a visitor, right? So because I had all my documents, and I just filled in the form on udi.no. So I filled the form and I submitted. I took all my originals to their office directly, and so that was how I was given a resident permit for a year. So after another year, I renewed it again. You're required to come and renew again after a year, which I did, and I think I renewed 3 times. And each time I go to renew, they give me 1 year. But some people said they give them 2 years, right? Those people can be funny. It's either they give you a year or 2 years, but they were giving me 1 year, right? They were giving me 1 year, probably because my husband was not a permanent resident yet, right? So they were giving me 1 year. He was with a work permit in his company, right? And a work permit in Norway is like a resident permit as well, I think everywhere as well. So yeah, then their resident permit Norway, you're entitled to everything pretty much as well. You're entitled, I gave birth to my child while with a resident permit, and yeah, I had got all the benefits. I got everything I was supposed to have. I gave birth free of charge. Everything is just like a permanent resident as well. So after that, I was issued a permanent residency. Of course, you have to apply. So I got a permanent residency. I think immediately my husband got his as well. I think pretty much the same time my husband got his, because they have to consider the fact that you've been consistently living in Norway for 2 to 3 years. Okay, so that is how the permanent residency, that is how I got my permanent residency in Norway. Okay, for EU citizens, I think it's a little bit different. You have to, if you're an EU citizen, which I was not, I was a non-EU citizen, right? So for EU citizen, you're allowed to come and live in Norway, but before you can get a permanent residency, you must have lived in Norway for about 5 years. So these things are the requirements are always updated. If I didn't want to go ahead with their citizenship, they told me to apply at a certain time to get it, but then I thought it wasn't necessary again, since I was coming to Canada, and at the time Norway approves only single citizenship. So if you're going to take Norwegian citizen at the time, you must reject the dual citizen. You must reject your original citizenship to get theirs, which I didn't want to do at the time. I know there are exceptions, right? My husband got a citizenship for Norway, but I didn't want to. The exception, if you are from a royal family, I think my husband qualified for one of the exceptions as well. So there are different reasons that you can give them if you don't want to reject your citizenship at the time. So but I didn't want to go through all that, and I decided not to go for their citizenship. I didn't want to reject Nigerian citizenship since I was coming to Canada, and Canada accepts dual citizenship. So it's just it was just a question of waiting for just a few years in Canada, which right now I'm a citizen. So yeah, it was the waiting. But then when I moved from Norway, I found out that Norway now accepts dual citizenship. So that's a good one. That's a big plus, right? Yeah, but for children, right? Children are allowed to keep any citizenship until they are 18 at the time. So then they can choose what they really want, the country they really want to. Of course, they want children to be able to choose themselves and say, oh, I want to be a Norwegian, or I want to be a Nigerian, or I want to be another citizenship. So yeah, it's optional for children. So they decide when they are 18. So that's that. And I found out that UDI has updated their requirements for permanent residency, right? Check out udi.no. I will link the link in the description box. Immediately I left Norway, they updated their requirements that you must have earned a certain amount working. It's because for me, before I got my permanent residency, sorry for the background, my baby is at the background playing, but for me to earn permanent residency in the first place, I presented the fact that I have learned the language, right? You must have taken a certain number of hours for the Norwegian language, right? So right now, it's not just the language requirement alone. Then people had a hard time, right, getting that language requirement. But right now, it's not just the language requirement, it's also work requirements. So for you to get a permanent residency, you must have earned a certain amount of money. You must have worked for a year and earned up to a certain amount of money. I think 250 something krona. I'll check. I will link the UDI so you can do your research. I think 200 and something thousand krona per annum, right, for a year. That's a requirement. That's a requirement, right? So if you're going to say you want to be a housewife and sit at home, unfortunately, you may not be able to get a permanent residency. So you must have worked for a year within those 2 to 3 years of stay as a resident, right? So if for that 2 to 3 years of stay, you must have worked for a year and earned certain amount of money, which is not too high. I think it's average, right? And you must have learned Norwegian up to a certain number of hours. So these are requirements that you need. These two are basic. There are other ones that are not so difficult. Of course, you have to show proof of your vacation outside Norway. They want to know how long you have lived in Norway. You have to show all your passports and all that. So you submit all those things and then you get your permanent residency. So basically it's 2 to 3 years of resident permit. So if you're a student, right? If you're a student that came into Norway to study, after studies and then you get a professional job, right? Your company can assist you in getting a work permit or a resident permit, but it has to be attached to that work, right? It has to be attached. Your company has to acknowledge the fact that you're working for them so you can get that work permit, okay, which is typically a resident permit. So from resident permit, and then you keep counting the number of days you have lived in Norway before you can get your permanent residency. So that's for students, okay? So it's pretty much, yeah, be a good citizen, do your best, try to get a job and at least work for a year. Don't just sit at home and say, oh, my husband is supporting me. If you're a woman, you may not be able to get your permanent residency, and you know what it means, right? Permanent residency still just gives you the symbol that you can now like live in Norway permanently, because all this while you've been attached to somebody or you've been attached to a job. Okay, so I hope I'm able to answer one of your questions that came to me. I'll still talk more about some more details about living in Norway for sure. Hopefully I'm going to cover all that, and I'm going to put those details, okay, out for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my videos. If you have questions, okay, just send me email or comment and tell me you're going to send me email. I think I'll prefer that, okay, so that once I read your comments, I read YouTube comments faster, right? Yeah, I check my emails every day for sure, but then I can easily respond to you, okay? And when I respond to you, I have that responsibility to go check that email out, so I will be able to fish your email faster and call you or we'll talk, okay? Thank you so much for having me. Disclaimer, I'm not an immigration consultant. I just share my experiences, right? Like I just shared in this video about my experiences of how I got my permanent residency, okay? So thank you for having me, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I'm wishing you a wonderful 2022. And for those of you that are looking forward to relocate to a new country, I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for watching to the end. And please don't forget to subscribe, okay? Don't just watch and go, okay? Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Thank you and bye-bye.